Tip, one submission.
Bro, he's got a crushing squeeze. Well,
it's different, bro. It's different. Yeah. He strangled me. And the way he did it, I think he, Moicano filled in last minute to fight Islam and got caught with the same choke. It's kind of like a Darce choke, but he locks it. It's different. So the defense is different. When I got my legs out and tried to walk around, he hooked my leg, but like the squeeze is completely different. Completely different. You know, you belly down and kind of get some space to breathe. You can't the way he does it.
Craig Jones broke it down.
It's like a
picture this. It's like a
used for a normal Darce choke.
I know. I was shocked the first time I saw him do it. I was like, maybe he just like couldn't cinch up the bicep. And then I saw him do it a second time. I was like, no, this guy's trying to do it that way. He grabs right.
There it is. There it is. Reel him in. Reel him in. Drag it tight against the chest.
On YouTube, where it explains why it's effective and what's so good about it.
The instant Islam Makhachev sinks that grip into place, you can throw the idea of any slow fade right out the window. We're not talking about a fighter who gradually bleeds out, who you watch run dry on the gas tank little by little. What you get instead is an immediate, all-encompassing shutdown. There's no tapering off, no flashing red lights, no window to adjust. Imagine a master switch getting yanked straight down to nothing. One heartbeat, the man across from him is still swinging, and the very next, every light in the building has gone dark. That quick, that merciless.
Comes to this fight because, like I said at the top of the video, I actually think Ian Garry has a really good chance in this fight, and it pains me to say that as someone that, again, I need to stress this. I fucking hate Ian Garry. Have I mentioned that in this video? And I'm a fan of Islam Makhachev, okay? But I just need to be real. I feel like Islam Makhachev is playing with fire by not having turned right around. He got offered a fight at UFC 324 after blobbing JDM, taking 0 damage, and moving up to 170, so it's not even this massive weight cut for him now. He clearly bulked up and filled out into the division, but still, it's not the same as cutting to 155 and turning right around, and he turned it down for whatever reason, right? We don't know. He got offered the White House card, apparently turned that down due to injury. And now we're hearing all these rumors that he's going to be back at UFC 330. Again, I'm going to build that card later on in the video. But I feel like he's given these guys a lot of time to improve. He's given Leon Edwards, what's this kid's name? Carlos Prates, Ian Garry, even Michael Morales, even though I don't think he should be in the conversation. He's given all of these guys time to get fights and get better, and they're younger than him, they're hungrier than him. And the biggest thing for me that concerns me about Islam Makhachev in this division is I feel like I'm seeing a pattern right now in the weight class, and I'm going to point it out to you. And actually, it makes me sad to accept this as a JDM fan, but there is just a certain build that is dominating this weight class right now, and it is the tall, lanky, well-rounded strikers. Okay? Listen to this fucking theory. Look at the top 5. Ian Garry, Carlos Prates, Michael Morales, and then JDM and Bilal Muhammad, who have lost to these guys, basically. You know what I'm saying? Think about what I'm telling you, right? Ian Garry, tall, lanky striker with solid grappling. He beat Bilal Muhammad the exact same way JDM did, except JDM did better, you know, whatever. But stuffed his takedowns, pieced him up. That's a good win. But he gets in there with Carlos Prates, and he's able to match his frame and do well against him on the feet, outstrike him, mix in the grappling more effectively than JDM was able to. Ian Garry, with his build and his skill set, is able to beat both the guys that JDM and these guys can beat, and Sean Brady and Bilal Muhammad, these guys can beat, right? But also is able to beat the other tall, lanky, just like mutants at 170 like Carlos Prates. Same with Carlos Prates, dude. This shit is fucking unfair, bro. This guy's massive. I saw this guy in person. It was like a fucking Arkham boss battle started when this guy jumped around the cage. He can handle grappling. We saw it against Leon Edwards. We saw it against JDM. We saw it against Ian Garry. He stuffed basically all of his takedowns. And on the feet, he's like, fuck.
Meanwhile, the seconds keep bleeding away, and Makhachev refuses to squander a single one of them. He's already dialed all the way into pure concentration. Laser precise, sharpening every tool he owns for the showdown waiting on the horizon. Your sitting champion holds his throne without a single soul able to knock him off it, even as Ian Garry inches toward his own crack at that crown. Now, Makhachev has forever been fixated, and I do mean truly fixated, on polishing every corner of his craft. But here's the twist. That bottomless drive to improve isn't even the headline grabbing everyone's attention right now. The genuine chatter, the topic on every tongue, is the training footage that quietly leaked out. It's the high-caliber coaches he's slipped into camp without a word. And it's the wildly fresh game plan he's bringing into this specific matchup. Which leaves us with one burning question. What has the champ really been brewing away from prying eyes? And is it enough to gift him the decisive advantage against a starving contender like Garry? Hang with me, because we're about to take it all apart.
Islam versus Ian Garry. My initial take on this was, oh man, who's going to beat Islam? You need a guy that has that one-shot knockout power who's going to catch him. Nobody's beating Islam by decision. But in what we've seen this year with Strickland, Hamzat, Justin, Ilya, all these crazy upsets, buddy, I'm not counting Ian out. I'm not counting him out. No way.
No.
Ian Machado Garry, I mean, he's talented as all fuck. I'm not one of those guys who's just going to jump on Islam and glaze him. Like, hell no. That's a great fight.
You have the 170 pulled up.
He matches up with Islam Makhachev.
He does well with Islam on the stand-up because he's rangy, he's tricky, all those. But on the ground, he doesn't. He does okay, but he doesn't survive on the ground. I don't think. I mean, well, okay, he might survive 5 rounds, but he won't get the best of Islam on the ground. That I'm 100% sure about that. On the stand-up, he's pretty tricky. So one punch can change everything on that. One kick, one punch, one knee. So that's a different story. But on the ground, I don't see him dominating. I see him surviving possibly. So yeah, I can see that. And then the takedown defense that he has is decent, but not great enough to stop Islam from taking him down. But again, sometimes we'll go in there and we'll decide that we're gonna do this with Islam, and next thing you know, next round we'll say, okay, take him down now, or next thing you know, next round we'll go stand up because he's that good.
When you and I have spoken about Islam Makhachev versus Ian Machado Garry, what do you make of that matchup?
That's a great fight. Look, it's a great fight. Ian Garry for a long time has been saying that, he is the future. Obviously, it's his nickname. Like, he sees himself as being there with the belt. He's visualized it, but now he's got Makhachev in the division. And I mean, Makhachev's got the kryptonite for every single person in the division. No matter where the fight goes, he's got the skills to challenge you and to cause you issues. Like, of course, since Ian Garry's, been spending time in Brazil, been working on his jiu-jitsu, he's going to be far more confident in his ground game. But at the same time, I don't know if you can be able to replicate what Islam Makhachev can do to you. I think you would have to be in the wrestling room in Dagestan to really feel that kind of pressure. And what you got to remember is, that room right now, we keep signing a bunch of guys from Khabib's team. They're all cookie cutter versions of each other. They're all lethal. They've all got great wrestling. They've all got that pressure style with good punching and kicking now. You know what I mean? There's a really elite level in that gym. And Makhachev's at the top of that pile. Everybody in that gym is working towards where he is, and everybody in that gym's a killer. I just don't know if you can be able to find the same kind of look that you're going to need to be able to deal with Makhachev. And I think now he's moved up to welterweight. I just think he looks physically so much healthier and stronger. Ian Garry's a slick striker, but he needs to damage Makhachev. He can't play the 25 minutes of picking and poking because
Now, whenever Islam Makhachev casts his eyes back over his rocket ride to the summit, a single name towers over every other. And without the faintest sliver of doubt, that name belongs to Khabib Nurmagomedov. Yet here's the fascinating part. Islam wasn't only pointing to the title belts or the towering pile of cage wins, he dug far beneath that. He underlined the unbreakable connection the pair of them built, long before either had become a worldwide phenomenon. Islam actually shared that their boyhoods were laced together completely. The two of them grew up shoulder to shoulder. And right from those very first days, they've been ferocious about their training, dragging each other forward at every turn. But here comes the real kicker. Makhachev flatly proclaims that Khabib is the man he worships above all. It makes no difference that barely any years separate them. No difference how staggering the achievements have grown. The reverence runs exactly that deep.
Не, Кhabib был нас до сих пор старше в зале. На тот период для меня он был старше. У нас разницы нету 1 день или 2 дня, или он чемпион, или не чемпион. Он был просто старшим, который показывал нам огромный пример. Мы с ним и в школе тренировались. Как ты сказал, мы между собой не дрались, но вместе на разборки ходили там за школу, за кого-то там. И вот так мы рядом жили. До того, как я попадил к Абдулманапу, у нас дом, наверное, между собой где-то 300-400 метров находился. Я его уже тогда знал.
Sit with this thought for just a moment. The man has already conquered the entire sport of mixed martial arts. He's planted his flag at the highest possible point. the absolute ceiling of what any fighter could ever reach. And still, Islam Makhachev's hunger hasn't faded by so much as a spark. Most fans naturally figure it's the gold, the spotlight, and those enormous paydays keeping his engine running. But Islam draws the curtain aside and shows you something far deeper, something with real weight behind it. It's the furnace of his training camp. It's that fierce, almost narcotic gratification of dragging his body and his mind clear to the edge of what they can take. It's the raw, blazing pride born from reaching greatness, and not for any belt or any shiny trophy, but strictly for his own sake. This is a man who doesn't merely guard a championship. He exists to reign supreme at his personal peak, again and again. That's an entirely separate breed of motivation.
Знаете, как это, я же всю жизнь этим занимаюсь, и мне вот просто нравится находиться с командой. Вот сейчас приехали на сборы 30 человек, вот эта атмосфера в городе не бывает. Вот эти большинство воспоминаний, то, что у меня есть от сборов, это вот когда мы толпой где-то собирались на какой-то базе, вот тренировались, у меня есть много других тоже воспоминаний, но это почти все связано с тренировочными сборами где-то с командой. Ну вот этого я не хочу терять. И мне это до сих пор нравится. Мне нравится, когда я нахожусь в форме. Мне вот не нравится, когда я бываю не в форме. Вставать неохота. Ну вот, когда ты в форме, не знаю, не могу, наверное, объяснить человеку, кто не был никогда в форме. Но когда ты в форме, это...
So Ian Garry's mouth ran, and the jabs found their mark, and people started buzzing about it. But Islam Makhachev had zero intention of leaning back and letting the gossip spiral into the stratosphere. Rather than pouring fuel on it and turning the whole thing into an all-out shouting match, Makhachev kept his cool and worked it cleverly. He fired a measured reply and put the truth back in its place, and the message he sent was flat and direct. It was never some injury parking him on the sidelines. The plain reality was that not one contract had ever been slid across the table to him to begin with. That said, he didn't sidestep everything. He did own up to wrestling with a serious hand problem, the kind that's going to call for surgery somewhere down the road. But here's the crucial piece. The UFC star moved fast to stress that this hiccup carries absolutely no danger to the long haul of his career. He's not losing a wink of sleep over it.
Довольно провокационно и жестко, и резко, точнее. Цитату в пример приводить не буду, но ты сам понял, наверное, о чем речь. Вот почему ты решил ему ответить не в таком же стиле, а по-спортивному?
Ну, что-то уже, когда ты молчишь, а они болтают, и люди начинают им верить просто в интернете, я думаю. Травма, они уже обо мне переживают. Но это так не бывает в UFC. Ты захотел, и ты дерешься на следующем турнире. Прими там бой, я приму, но нет уже контракта, как я приму? Что я приму вообще? Я им так и ответил, отправьте контракт, я принимаю любой бой, у меня нет никаких травм. У меня есть старая травма руки, но это после завершения моей карьеры я ее буду оперировать. Но сейчас это не причина, что бои какие-то срывались. Я готов, отправляйте контракт. Вот я сегодня на сборах, я думаю, в июле я уже буду готов.
But Makhachev wasn't finished there. He pushed it a step further, completely dismantling the notion that Garry belongs anywhere near the conversation as a legitimate threat. And the proof he laid out was pretty brutal. He aimed straight at Garry's vicious, now well-known clash with Shavkat Rakhmonov. Across that fight, Garry's striking hardly gave a genuinely elite opponent any reason to worry. A different chapter did open up for a fleeting stretch when Garry sniffed out a crack in the defense. He pounced on the chance and let loose on what truly appeared to be a soft spot. But Rakhmonov, exactly as you'd expect, did precisely what the upper-tier guys always do. He soaked up the pressure, rode out the squall, conquered the moment, and rolled on to lock up a commanding finish. And for Makhachev, that lone contest spelled out one message in crystal clarity. Garry's real ceiling is still buried out of sight. He simply hasn't shown it where it counts most.
Кому-то так сильно колено прижатую, что...
Ну, это Шавкат, допустим, у него в бою.
Ну, еще непонятно, это он Шавката травмировал. Он на Шавкате смог до конца подраться. Значит, незначительная такая травма была в бою, что Шавкат... Я был еще в первом ряду сидел, помню, они дерутся, и у этого...
на этом бою, да, такой?
Да, Янгери шорты порвал. Вот за эту минуту отдыха ему даже шорты поменяли. Ну, видно было там слабую сторону.
Here's a detail plenty of folks have no clue about. The wrestling and grappling universe is practically on its knees pleading for Islam Makhachev. They keep hurling enormous, jaw-dropping figures in his direction, desperate to coax him onto the mat. Yet even with all that seductive money sitting right under his nose, Islam won't so much as throw it a sideways look. While a heap of other title holders sprint after those lucrative crossover spectacles, Makhachev's order of priorities couldn't ring any clearer. Between a stacked calendar of title defenses, savage training camps, and the merciless, bottomless grind that mixed martial arts demands, splitting his attention simply isn't on the table for him. He's come right out and said it flat. The cash doesn't move the needle 1 inch. For Makhachev, gripping that UFC strap and cementing his rule at the very top of the sport, that's the one and only thing carrying any real meaning.
Бойцы ММА участвуют в разных лигах по вольной борьбе, по грэпплингу устраивают матчи. К тебе уже обращались с таким предложением?
Да, ко мне обращаются.
Тебе это интересно?
А не, зачем? Мне хватает чем заниматься, денег хватает шпионских, так что мне некогда отвлекаться на какие-то там борцовские дрэпы, схватки, потому что можно же травмироваться и все, потом отсидеть полгода вообще без ничего. У меня есть время подраться, подготовиться, делами заняться, там, семьей побыть. Если выступать, например, по той же борьбе, надо же готовиться, опять кемпы проходить, опять куда-то ездить. Так что нет же.
All right, the guessing game is roaring back to life. Brendan Schaub's brain is firing off at 100 miles an hour, picking apart every far-fetched possibility for what unfolds the moment this fight wraps. Right now, he's tagging Makhachev as the runaway favorite. And sure, that shocks nobody. But Schaub concedes that if Ian Garry somehow conjures the impossible, the entire landscape flips overnight. Because beating Islam wouldn't just count as another tally for Garry, it would be his golden ticket. Picture it, a head-on, screaming-in-your-face challenge to Conor McGregor right there inside the cage, mere seconds after the final horn. That, right there, is the blockbuster that mints fortunes. And even if Makhachev stands tall and closes the show, Schaub still won't slam the door on Garry entirely. He spots something in the kid. He paints the champ as just about unbeatable, reasoning that anybody dreaming of toppling him would almost certainly need knockout-grade power, since stealing a decision off him is a mountain of a task. But after a year of jaw-dropping upheaval in MMA, Schaub is dead certain the unexpected always rules this game. He refuses to write Garry off in the slightest. Instead, he's actually building up the Irishman's genuinely lethal toolbox, swearing this collision will land far tighter and far more competitive than the average fan suspects. To his eye, it's an outright must-watch, and he's got company. Even the legendary Dan Hardy is spellbound by this pairing, branding it a riveting examination of both men. But Hardy also fingers the single steepest wall in Garry's way, Islam Makhachev's skill set, which he describes as nothing less than a clinic in complete, well-rounded fighting. He gives Garry credit for taking real leaps by tightening up his jiu-jitsu and bracing for every wrinkle, yet Hardy insists none of it tells the full story. Because make no mistake about it, Makhachev isn't merely a fighter, he's a horror story turned loose at welterweight. His elite wrestling, his surgical striking, and his smothering top game all fuse into this unavoidable grinding pressure that dismantles opponents bit by bit. So what's the hidden ingredient? It traces all the way back to the elite Dagestani training machine, a forge that hammers out champions like nothing else anywhere in the sport. That savagely high standard of everyday competition has bred a one-of-a-kind menace in this weight class. And now, the climb up in weight has only fine-tuned him even more. He looks bigger, he looks healthier, and he looks practically custom-built for this division. As for Garry, Dan Hardy is convinced the Irishman's polished striking on its own simply won't carry him through the tempest. And then there's Javier Mendez, holding a grim warning for Garry. There's one spot he absolutely cannot afford to wind up in. Because while Garry's striking soaks up all the headlines, Mendez lays bare a glaring, wide-open weakness the second this fight crashes to the floor. Makhachev's wrestling and submission catalog, he warns, runs on a whole separate level, turning the canvas into a submission artist's playground, or a vicious death trap for anyone reckless enough to chase him down there. So as this title clash draws near, Mendez's verdict couldn't be more absolute. Garry just doesn't own the tools to last if Islam succeeds in hauling him to the mat. Alright, so who are you riding with? Drop your calls down in the comments this instant. Is Garry stunning the world with the upset of the year? Or does Makhachev steamroll him exactly the way everybody's predicting? If this breakdown hit the spot, do me a solid and smash that subscribe button. We're plunging into every single fight, firing off real-time updates, and lighting up fierce debates. Trust me, you do not want to miss whatever's rolling in next.